The Mets have officially signed starting pitcher Frankie Montas to a 2-year, $34 million deal, and they're still showing interest in a starting pitcher market, but it may not be for who you want it to be. Plus, a big update on the Juan Soto front, as there seems to be a new favorite in town. All that and more next on Mets Post. Let's get it. What's going on, Mets fans? Welcome to Mets Post. I am your host, Brian Cameron. And as I mentioned in the start of the show, the Mets have officially signed Frankie Montas to a 2-year, $34 million deal with a player option. It is a $17 million annual average, but after the first year, it could be that Montas plays himself into free agency, just like Sean Manaea, just like Luis Severino. It seems like the Mets are in favor of these kind of moves as opposed to attacking the top pitchers in the market right now. Now, Montas is coming off a pretty decent year. He hasn't had a great season since 2021. After being traded to the Yankees, Montas dealt with multiple shoulder injuries, and he's had a difficult time of bouncing back and finding his form that he had in 2021. Now, can Frankie Montas actually be the reclamation project that the Mets want him to be? Absolutely. I don't doubt that the Mets are that confident in their pitching coaching staff that they can actually turn Montas into possibly a good number three guy, a number four guy in the rotation. But this is only the beginning of what is expected to come after bigger moves are made, after possibly the announcement of where Juan Soto is going. This is a decent move for the time being, where you're not overpaying for a guy like Luis Severino, or you're not fully investing into a big contract with Sean Manaea. I know the Mets are confident in their ability to help Montas actually turn his career around and possibly be a decent starter for this team in their hunt for a World Series championship. He is coming off a season where he played for the Reds and the Brewers. He pitched in 30 games and he had an ERA of 4.84. Now, it's not enticing, right? This is not what you want them to make in their first move, or their first big move at least, of the offseason. But the Mets are in a position where they have a lot of confidence with what they have in house. They saw what they did with Sean Manaea. They saw what they did with Severino, and Montas is not that far removed from being a quality pitcher. I mean, he was, pretty much an ace with the A's, but after leaving Oakland, it's been a downfall. And if there's any team in the MLB that can actually help Montas find his groove again, find his footing again, then it's definitely the New York Mets. And he should be extremely confident in what David Stearns is doing. He's not investing in a workhorse starting pitcher at the moment. I know Corbin Burns is out there. I know Garrett Crochet is out there for a trade. You have Max Fried. These are guys that will come in and be the guy, but these are also guys that will come in and possibly demand bigger contracts. And if the Mets are hell-bent on getting Juan Soto to Queens, then you got to be smart with the moves you make. And they showed what they did with Manaea last season. They showed what they did with Severino. I don't love the signing, but I don't dislike it because it has a high upside, very low risk. And if he does play himself into a bigger contract, then the Mets got him for 1 year. And what's $17 million to Steve Cohen at this point? On the next front, we got to talk about Juan Soto. So the Yankees is being rumored that they will not top $550 million. But a report just came out this morning saying that they feel like they put their best foot forward in showing Juan Soto that they want him here for the long term, which is all fine and dandy if you're a Yankees fan. But for the Mets fans, the Red Sox and Mets are seeming to be the likely landing spots for Juan Soto. Unfortunately, in recent days, with all the Twitter hoopla, with all the rumors out there, it seems like the Red Sox are emerging as the favorites. Now, I can see why that is. Boston is a championship city. It has a great legacy built to it. Then you also have Rafael Devers. You also have the legacy of David Ortiz in Boston. But Juan Soto going to the Red Sox just makes very little sense to me because they're not as far as long as the Yankees, and the Yankees are not even as far along as the Mets are. Although they did have a World Series trip because of Juan Soto, because they did find lightning in a bottle, the Mets just feel like the better fit. And if the Mets are going to offer top dollar for Juan Soto, then it seems like it's a guarantee that he comes to Queens. But you can't deny the fact that Juan Soto to the Red Sox is a bit worrisome just because we haven't heard much on the Mets front. We've heard about the Yankees. We've heard about the Red Sox. We've heard about the Blue Jays. We've heard about the Dodgers being patient. But everything's been radio silent on the Mets front. And while that could be a great thing, right? It just shows that Steve Cohen is confident in what he's put on the table for Juan Soto. It could also be a bad thing because we don't know what Steve Cohen put on the table for Juan Soto. We don't know what the Red Sox and Yankees are putting on the table for Juan Soto. To be honest, everything's speculation because the only person that knows where he's going is Juan Soto and possibly Scott Boras, obviously. So while you have your average Joe on Twitter saying he's a guarantee to end up at Boston, you have your average Kyle saying that he's definitely going to be in Queens. Nobody knows until possibly the beginning of winter meetings, which it does unofficially start on Sunday. So we should be getting more clarification come next week as to where Juan Soto is going and what is the direction for the New York Mets, because they do have Pete Alonso out there. They do have a Willie Adames out there. There's a lot of quality guys that can come in and you can still make a run with that's not named Juan Soto. But obviously, Juan Soto is a huge difference maker, and his fit in Queens is like rice and beans. It just mixes well together and it goes great together. I'm Puerto Rican, so I'm definitely going to say that. So, not all hope is lost, Mets fans. There's still a possibility that Juan Soto can end up in Queens. The fact of the matter is that nobody knows what's going on. You have the big guys not saying anything, the big reporters out there, the Jeff Passons of the world. And then you have the small guys who are saying everything. So remember, the loudest voice in the room is always the knucklehead, for the lack of a better term. Now let's look at who the Mets are rumored to be interested in the starting pitching market. This one's going to be a little bit interesting as they've shown interest in Michael Soroka, Clay Holmes, and Walker Buehler. Clay Holmes is the one raising the most eyebrows just for the fact that the Mets are thinking about using him as a starting pitcher. Which brings me back to my point at the beginning of the show where you just got to be confident in what the Mets are confident in. If they feel like they could actually take these guys and revive their careers or take their careers to another level, they've shown us that they can do that. And until they show us that they can't do that during this Steve Cohen, David Stearns era, then we just got to ride with it. But a name that's very interesting to me is Walker Buehler, who the Dodgers did not give a qualifying offer to because they didn't want to force the issue. And the Mets, if they want a guy like Walker Buehler, you can actually offer him a little bit more than what you offered Frankie Montas. In the same manner, 1 year, 1 year deal with a player option. If he does want to stay and he has a bad season, then he opts into that player option and he's here for another year. Buehler did not have the greatest of seasons last year, but he was actually pretty clutch for the Dodgers in the playoffs. He had an ERA of 3.60 in the playoffs, 13 strikeouts, 6 earned runs on 15 innings pitched. Now, that's not mind bending numbers, but it's showing that he's made enough progress to possibly find his footing again. And he may need to find his footing in a different town. And what better place than Queens? What better place than the New York Mets, where Buehler can come in? And if Montas is the fourth guy in the rotation, you put Buehler right behind Kodai in the third part of the rotation, and you go find yourself an ace in the trade market. Obviously, Gary Crochet is a name that's been floating around out there. You have several other guys that they could possibly find, and they could possibly even sign another veteran at another minimal deal that they did with Frankie Montas, and they can do with Walker Buehler. The possibilities are endless for the New York Mets, and I feel like for the first time in a very long time, they're in a position where you just got to trust what they're doing because they feel like they're doing what's best for the organization. It's not like the previous owners, it's not like the previous regime where they did things just to do things, to make splashes and to put fans in the seats. This ownership and the team that he's put together with David Stearns is going to do what's best for the city, what's best for the team, and hoping that they could put their best foot forward and bring a World Series to Queens once again. But of course, to get there, you need quality pitching and you need a guy like Juan Soto in the middle of your lineup to be that difference maker. So as of right now, with things being as they are, Juan Soto's stuff being up in the air, the Mets are making the moves that they feel would best put them in a position to win in 2025, and you just got to trust it. Now, will it be a bit of a disheartening move if they don't get Soto? Absolutely. It'll be a huge letdown because this is possibly the most hyped move that we've been expecting to happen for the Mets in a long time. But unfortunately, we don't know what's going on with their conversations with Juan Soto because there's nothing coming out, which again, it could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing. It could be a good thing because if Juan Soto does truly respect the fact that nothing's being leaked out from the New York Mets team, then he's looking at it as like, okay, like they're about their business. We know what the Yankees are leaking out. We know what the Red Sox are leaking out. We know what the Blue Jays are putting out there. But the Mets are not saying anything. And that's, to me, it's huge because we were heavily used in the Yamamoto sweepstakes. We were heavily used in the beginning part of the Juan Soto sweepstakes, and now we've kind of like hit a point where it's just balance, where it's kind of like we're possibly moving in the background, and Cohen is probably possibly going to put the biggest offer on the table at the right moment, and it could happen. It could really happen. It's still a big possibility. But as of right now, they're still making moves to put themselves in the right direction. Montas is a good start. It's not the greatest of starts, but again, you gotta trust what they believe in. They're confident, and I'm buying into what they're selling right now. It is unfortunate that we do not have a bigger update on Juan Soto, but it is fortunate that we have made a move in signing Frankie Montas, that they were showing interest in players like Walker Bueller, and it possibly could be showing interest in the trade market, but that's not being revealed just yet. So the stove is cooking, Mets fans. And I want to say I appreciate you all for tuning in today. I want to appreciate you all for subscribing. Make sure you guys go ahead, give a thumbs up to this video, and I'll see you guys next week on another episode of Mets Pulse. Go Mets.